We are now talking to Fox Sports NFC East reporter Ralph Vacchiano. Ralph, what's going on, bud?
Not much, guys. How you doing?
We're good, man. I mean, we're sweating and, everything. Here in Long Island, it doesn't make any sense. The weather, fall, by the way, happy fall for everybody. Today is the first day of fall, and it was humid this morning. It was about 80% humid. It was disgusting, gloomy over here. And then all of a sudden, we had a lot of rain, and now it's 59 degrees, 58 degrees. So
Sounds right.
New York weather is horrible. I can't stand it. So it just goes back and forth. But how are you doing? How are you and your family with the whole COVID-19 since we haven't spoken to you?
We're doing good, thanks. We appreciate that. We got through it okay, and looking forward to getting back to a little more normalcy.
Absolutely. So why don't we get into some football, because that's why we have you on. And the New York Giants are 2-0 right now. Dable has really shown everybody what he can do as a head coach, change this offense. I don't know if Daniel Jones is the future. Saquon Barkley could be gone by the end of the season. There's a lot of craziness with Golladay. Kenny Golladay complaining that he played 2 snaps. Where is this Giants team as far as what you've seen in the first 2 games of the season?
Well, I mean, they're 2-0, which is good no matter how you look at it, because they haven't been winning in many, many years. So, everything else I'm going to say is not going to be good, but take the 2-0 and be happy about it, because Giants fans deserve it at this point. But if you peel back the curtain a little bit, they're incredibly lucky. I mean, they beat a Tennessee Titans team that's probably not as good as we thought. They needed a muffed punt and a missed field goal to do it. They beat a Panthers team that's not very good. They needed a 56-yard field goal to do it. They are not generating a whole lot of offense. Daniel Jones doesn't have a lot of receivers to throw to. They don't have much of a passer. There's a lot of holes in this team, but they're well coached. They're playing hard. And, look, in this sport, you take the breaks as they come. Over the last 10 years, I could probably count on my hands how many breaks they've gotten in games. So if they've gotten 2 to get to 2-0, just take it and be happy.
So what about on the defensive side? The Giants have had a lot of injuries so far, especially with their edge rushers, now also losing Leonard Williams as well. They had Dean Belton out, the rookie safety, for a while too. But a lot of the backups have stepped up. What have you seen so far from that defense in Wink Martindale?
They're aggressive, which is good. They hadn't been aggressive in years past. I thought they were a decent defense 2 years ago under Patrick Graham. They took a step back last year. But they blitz from all sorts of angles, which is, kind of what you need to do when you're undermanned. And I think they are undermanned a little bit. I don't think they have good linebackers. Until Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari are back. I think their defensive line is okay, but doesn't get a lot of pressure even when Leonard Williams is in there. The secondary it's got some good, Adoree Jackson's playing great so far, but he's really the island out there at cornerback. Julian Love, Xavier McKinney could be very good safeties. So there are pieces there. But as a whole, it's not a dominant defense unless you scheme it. And that's what Wink Martindale has done. They really went after Baker Mayfield. Now that worked with Baker Mayfield. Let's see what happens with Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. But at least for the average to below average quarterbacks, you can win a lot of games if you really dial up that pressure.
We are talking to Fox Sports NFC East reporter Ralph Vacchiano. Ralph, you look at this division, and there's so many what-ifs. I mean, there's nothing that really stands out except the Eagles. The Eagles are the high-profile team in this division. They proved on Monday Night Football they can knock off a very good team like the Vikings. They shut down Jefferson. What are your thoughts of what you've seen with this Eagles team? That Jalen Hurts looks like he could be the quarterback of the future of this organization, and that's what they wanted to see. Where do you see this team right now in the NFC East?
They're for real. I think they're the team to beat. They were heading into this season. I picked them as a sleeper Super Bowl contender if everything worked out right in the first 2 games. It certainly looks like that's the case. They've got a tremendous secondary. I mean, I don't know that there are 3 better cornerbacks in the league than Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's just a terrific threesome right there. They have a pass rush that hasn't really started playing well lately, but there's potential there with Nakobe Dean and Brandon Graham and Hassan Reddick, some guys who can really get after the quarterback. And on offense, look, they were the number 1 rushing team in football last year, and Jalen Hurts really looks like he's put things together. They have so many weapons now with A.J. Brown to pair with Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert at tight end. Their offensive line is as good an offensive line as there is in football. I don't know where the weakness is. Maybe at linebacker, but that's something you can cover a little bit. I just think that team is so deep and so good. I think if they were in the AFC, they could be competitive, but in the NFC, where all the weaker teams are, they have a chance to be a Super Bowl team. I think they're going to be hard to knock off in the NFC East.
So being they're kind of, like you were saying, they're kind of a running team first. Like, it's not the wave of the game. This is considered a quote-unquote passing league type thing. What chances do you give of them trying to be that maybe differentiation Super Bowl type run, being a counterculture type in comparison to these other NFC powerhouses?
Well, I do think you have to run well in this league to succeed in the playoffs, unless you are a super passing team. The Bills ran well last year. The Chiefs had somewhat of a running game, especially late in the season. Even the Rams had developed a running game late in the season, but they all had elite passing games. And, I don't know if the Eagles are quite there yet, but I think the potential is there because of the diversity. Having A.J. Brown as a true number one receiver to pair with Devonta Smith. Last year, Jalen Hurts was pretty good just throwing to Devonta Smith and all on the outside. Now the middle of the field's open with A.J. Brown. He's got a good pass-catching tight end in Dallas Goedert. So the weapons are there in the passing game. He looks poised, Jalen Hurts. He looks like he's throwing in the right places, like he'll run smartly, not just in a panic. Obviously, that has to keep up, and they have to prove that. They're going to have to pass to really succeed, I think. But when you start with that number one rushing game in the league, and now you're adding the passing game too, that's where I think they can become dangerous. I think the signs of the passing game developing are really there.
Now, Jerry Jones is very well known with his smart remarks and stupid things that have come out, not only from his organization, for other organizations, and what he said and has talked about other organizations. Now, Jerry Jones came out 24 hours ago and said he would welcome a quarterback controversy between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott. Now, if I was Dak Prescott right now, and I'm not, but if I was, and I got a huge contract last year, I signed a big contract, I'm getting paid $42.5 million every single year, and I got hurt, I hurt my thumb, and I'm sitting out 6 to 8 weeks, as my owner says, I'm coming back in 4 weeks, which likely it's not going to happen. If you were him and you thought that your owner is speaking not highly of you, and you're looking at a third string quarterback, and let's be honest, Cooper Rush would be a third string quarterback on any other NFL team. What would you say if you were Dak Prescott?
I think he understands Jerry Jones. First of all, he got his money. He knows that, they're paying him a ton of money. They're not going to bench him unless Cooper Rush becomes Kurt Warner. And in that case, Dak Prescott will go somewhere else and make a ton of money. So, who cares? But I think he understands that Jerry Jones is talking about two things here. One, he's always selling something. He's, talking about he's looking for attention, and saying that got him a lot of attention. And the other thing is, on a more practical basis, I think that the general message was he wants Cooper Rush to play really, really well, because if that happens, it's good for the Cowboys and it keeps them afloat. And, what better situation would there be for the Cowboys than Cooper Rush playing great for a month until Dak Prescott is ready? And then, if you have to talk about it then, okay, but at least then it's better than him stinking and going 0-4 or 0-5 and the Cowboys being out of the playoffs. So Cooper Rush succeeding is good for everybody. Don't be fooled, unless, again, anything can happen. He could be Kurt Warner. He could be what Tony Romo was once. Maybe he lights it up, and then you've got a question mark at the end. But their intention is to give this back to Dak Prescott. They would just rather give it back to him in good shape, not bad shape.
Yeah, that's what they mentioned. That's what Jerry Jones mentioned after that, too. Oh, it's going to be Tony Romo, Dak Prescott, 2016 all over again.
Jerry needs a haircut. That's what he needs. That's just me speaking the truth.
Just make sure you don't go to Mark Davis's barber. And then you'll probably be good.
Oh my God, that's a terrible haircut.
So, what about the Dallas running game and their defense too? Kind of a different identity now with the passing game not being the same. Not only Dak getting hurt, but also losing wide receivers. That was a big deal for them last year. Can you see them kind of transforming back to that 2016 identity when it was Zeke that was the main workhorse? I know he struggled so far, but where he's the main workhorse in this defense playing as well as it has so far.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they've got questions on that offensive line. I think when Ezekiel Elliott powered them, it was really the offensive line that was powering them. And it's just not the same line anymore. So I don't know, Ezekiel's getting up there in years. Running backs get old quickly. Not having the same line in front of him, knowing that Cooper Rush probably isn't going to beat you. Teams can load up and try to stop Zeke. So I don't know that he can necessarily carry them right now. I think they need Cooper Rush and CeeDee Lamb to do something there. It might be a case now where the defense and Micah Parsons, and the rest of the crew there have to carry the Cowboys over these next few games. I think the same is kind of true of the Giants. I mean, there's always a chance that Saquon Barkley pops off. There's always a chance that Ezekiel Elliott pops off. But going into this Monday night game, to me, it's which defense plays better. It's going to be 17-14. Which defense holds off the other team in the fourth quarter. And that's really the way these teams right now have to win games. They're not the Bills and the Chiefs and the Rams and all the other offensive firepower teams. They're a team that has to – both of them are teams that have to grind it out. The Cowboys are, at least, until Prescott comes back, and then maybe they can click that offense into gear.